What an incredible response to this webinar. We're excited to have you here with us today. This is the eSkill webinar, Revolutionizing HR, Harnessing AI to Transform Hiring and Employee Development with Dr. Frank Olmos. I'm Sheila Clefcorn, CMO of eSkill, the sponsor of this webinar, and we're excited to have you with us. Please make a note. As we go through this webinar, there's a lot of great information and you're going to have questions. So please put your questions in the chat and we will have time at the end of the presentation to go through them. So again, please note on your console there where you find chat, not in questions, but in chat, please put your questions there and Dr. Olmos will get to them at the end of the presentation. I'm thrilled to introduce Dr. Frank Olmos, really a luminary of the field. He's doing so much in this AI space. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Olmos.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us in this webinar. Very excited to be here. This is totally revolutionary. This is definitely a worthy webinar for y'all to attend and learn more about AI. All right, everybody, the future is now. The future is now. You know, all these stories and imaginations and visions about the future. I mean, it's coming to a reality. We've been seeing movies like AI, Terminator of all movies, like Inception, Westworld, even War Games, 2001, Short Circuit, Star Wars. I mean, do you remember when you were a child or back when or early on when you first saw these movies? You had these, they were so imaginary about how computers are so advancing so much that they're thinking like us. It's all about having these other types of technologies that are thinking similar to how humans think, you know, human reasoning, critical thinking. And so all of these, like when I was a kid, I used to watch all these movies and, or even recently, these type of movies are out. And it's just like, it's always seen as something so far-fetched, so far out that who knows when is this going to arrive. And it's getting the feeling that we're getting closer and closer to these type of, at least technologies where computers are going to think like us. And AI is really all about that. It's about how these computer systems have these abilities to do reasoning, critical thinking, analyzing, things that humans typically only have those abilities. And we're getting there. The future is now. And AI is based on mostly mathematics. It's based on probability theory, statistics, linear algebra, and calculus. It's really based on incorporating all these mathematical concepts together. So here's an example of how AI thinks. It's all based on probability. So in this example, it's this I am. So like it starts with I, okay, there's two options, I would, I do. Okay, let's say if it's I would not eat. And then it has like when it's not, it has two options like I would not eat, I would not like. So basically, it's based on what is the next word. It's thinking, it's doing this mathematical calculations to think about what is the next word based on probability. Let's play a little bit of a game for those of you in the webinar. Like think about what's the next word. Like when I say salt and blank, what's the next word you think? Most of you may think pepper, salt and pepper. Let's say star blank. Star Wars. So it's basically thinking like that. It's based on a lot of it's a large language model which incorporates a lot of information and it learns from all the patterns. It's able to make a probabilistic inquiry as to what the next word is very likely to be. And AI essentially works in that fashion based on these mathematical probability concepts and models. It would just generate the very likely next word. So there's been huge technological milestones in human resources, from the invention of the calculator to the invention of the computer to social media. to cloud computing, to cell phone computing, to Zoom, and like meetings, like webinars like this, GoToMeetings, to artificial intelligence, to who knows what is next, to maybe virtual reality. Each of these key technological advances has had an impact on human resources. I remember back in the day, we were debating about having calculators for candidates to use while taking assessments. Some think that, some people believe that we should, some people believe we should not. I mean, even if you ever YouTube calculators in classrooms or debate, there's been also when calculators was kind of like prominent, there was a huge debate in academia about about using calculators, how that's going to have an impact on human intelligence. So it's an interesting how we go through these phases and also key advancements and how it has an impact. Now, nowadays, calculator is not a big deal. Everybody has a calculator. It's not a big deal. But it's interesting how we're living in this time frame where all these advancements are taking place, and who knows, 30 years from now, AI is not going to be much of a big deal. It's going to be pretty much ingrained in our culture and our day-to-day lives. It's actually going to be part of our lives that it's not going to be seen as something significant. But every single advancement has impacted human resources in some fashion, some way, to the point that maybe using AI is going to be a required skill in the future. Who knows? And AI is being applied in every field. I know I'm focusing on AI in HR, but AI is going to be focused in every field. It's used in agriculture, mining, forestry, fishing, utilities, retail, finance, healthcare. It's used in every single field. It's being applied in every single field. But essentially, AI has the ability to think, to reason, to analyze, to identify patterns. It's basically having human intelligence, human thinking applied in any of these fields. So naturally, having that ability to critically think and analyze, and using all these competencies that AI can perform, and these are transferable skills that can be applied in anything. And so, right now there's a lot of discussions taking place as we speak, how AI is being applied and incorporated in all of these fields. I come from academia as well. I teach statistics at California State University, Los Angeles, and we're having a lot of discussions about how to incorporate AI. Should we incorporate AI? If we do decide to incorporate AI, what's the fashion and what's the best way to do that? So this is just a small piece of our larger discussion taking place all over the world. AI has such a significant impact not only over the world, but all over, all of these sectors that as we speak. Now, to AI specifically, understanding that AI is such a, is such a general technology that it can be applied to anything. It could also be applied in any aspect of HR. It could be applied in safety and wellness. It could be applied in HR planning and strategy, legal compliance, employer relations, compensation benefits, performance management, training and development. It could be applied in pretty much any aspect of AI. The key thing is to understand what AI can perform and understand how to really harness that ability of AI and just apply it in pretty much in any single situation that you're in HR. But just again, I need to repeat this. AI can be applied in every single aspect. It's just learning how to use AI. It's like, if you remember back in the day of Microsoft Office, if you're able to perform, if you have Microsoft Excel skills or Microsoft Word skills, we're not saying, those are transferable skills that can be applied to every single aspect of your work. It's not only just going to be dedicated to a single thing or single situation. Learning Excel is a great skill to learn, similar to AI. If you learn the skill of how to harness the technology of AI, you can apply it in almost every single aspect of your work. And I would just also take it a step even further. You can apply it in your personal lives if you want AI to help you with your workout routine or build better habits or organize. it can also help you with that. So the key thing of my presentation is really maximize and harness the technology of AI. How do you talk to it? How do you talk to it when you have a need, when you want to learn more something, when you need to leverage its powerful strength of critical thinking or analyzing? How do you do that? And just to also let you know, I've been presenting this information to other groups, and what I've been finding very surprising is many people are not fully leveraging AI for their work. I noticed that people may have heard of it, may have played around with it, may have dabbled with it a few times, but they haven't really, they're not using it in a way that best serve their needs. And so that is my goal. My goal is to really spread the word, and not only spread the word about how AI can better help you, but also how you can fully understand what to say, build better prompts, and give you what you need. Now, there's a lot of options out there, a lot of different AI models. There's ChatGPT, which you probably hear a lot in the news. There's Claude, there's Perplexity, there's Gemini, there's Copilot. There's a lot of options. Each one has their pros and cons. I would say ChatGPT, very versatile, but also can produce incorrect information because it doesn't have real-time data. Claude, it's very strong, has a very strong reasoning focus, and also has great ethical skills, which means like it has guardrails. It doesn't provide you with certain things that may go beyond certain boundaries, but it's limited on knowledge, has no image generation. So Gemini, this is from Google, access to current information, and so but it's less consistent on outputs. Copilot, web search integration, citation capability, but sometimes unpredictable, limited conversation history. And Perplexity, which is the middle one, real-time internet search, cite sources, fast responses, but the con is less conversational, limited to web info, may lack context. Now, each one of them has their pros and cons. I think it's the best to sometimes to get really acquainted with these models as much as you can, practicing, especially with the skills that I'm going to be presenting here. For you to kind of at least make up your mind on which one is the better one for you. Sometimes you may have to put in information to each one, and then it gives you a different output, and you can choose which output's the best one. Now, I want you to imagine AI as your personal intelligent friend next to you. Okay, so you have Marie Curie, you have Maya Angelou, Mr. Rogers, Carl Sagan, Leonardo da Vinci. So imagine you have a combined person of all of these people next to you, and it's really seeing that AI as your friend, your intelligent buddy next to you that you can ask any single question you want to help you with your whatever you need, whatever situation you need. So that's kind of like my whole point of this presentation, is to really have a framework for you to understand how to engage with your AI. When I say AI, I mean about these chatbots like Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini. Essentially, I want you to have an understanding, a framework on how to communicate, how to best talk to it to give you what you want. So here is a framework. This is something I developed. This is something that it will give you what you, at least an understanding of what are the key aspects that you need to talk to your AI chatbot. So you want to give, so it's called the chat prompt pyramid. You want to give it context. You want to ask why you're giving it certain instructions, or what's the purpose of the prompt. The prompt is basically instructions that you give to your AI chatbot. What is the assigned task? Excuse me. What is the defined outcome? What type of output do you want? So as long as you have these key foundational layers and you covered every single aspect in your prompt, you're going to get a very high quality response output from your AI chatbot. Now, if you want even further refined, much more elaborative, a much more specific output, then you can ask for, you can include in your prompt a persona. A persona is like, You can have it act like a psychometrician, act like a social media director, act like a human resources professional. If you specifically say, please act like blank, or like act like a research scientist, act like a let's say car mechanic. I'm just spewing some examples here. It's going to give you much more specific, much more accurate output. Also, you could reference examples. Like you could say, I want to do a report. This is a report from the last week's, but please use that as a template, as an example. There's also ways to optimize via iterative refinement. So as you go along, you get outputs. You tell your AI chatbot to refine certain aspects of it. So it's learning along with you. Similar with modularized subtask decomposition. So what that means is that you want to fully harness the energy and the intelligence of AI to focus some particular aspect of their output, or something, a segment, or a very specific area of your output. Because what happens is that the more you diffuse its intelligence, the less likely you're going to get a better output. So you want to fully harness and focus on the specific aspect of it, so you can fully leverage its intelligence. And then progression of thought. Progression of thought essentially is similar to iterative refinements, where you learn with your AI one another. So as you're learning and critical thinking, every single output that it's giving you, it's learning along with you, and you're giving it more information as you go along, which is all it's all part of that same conversation, and it's going to give you a better output as we go along. And then the last piece is transcendence. That's expert level. That's basically when you have learned a combination of all of these aspects of the prompt to best refine your prompt and to give you what you want. Also, technology is advancing so much that that there might be other aspects that it's not listed here that will also be included in that top piece of the pyramid. Okay, so ChatGPT, that's how it looks like. So let me give you some examples. So before I give you some examples, I want to give you at least a word of advice in terms of how to use AI responsibly. So you want to first balance sensitivity and caution. So use freely. Okay, you can definitely use freely AI chatbots for low-risk tasks. Just be careful on using it for sensitive areas. Make sure you protect your data and privacy. Do not include specific names when you do your prompts. Avoid submitting private information. Also, you want to prioritize human judgment. So whatever AI chatbots gives you, you want to validate it by your own judgment or having somebody else's judgment, like subject matter experts. You want to ensure quality and fairness. Make sure human review of AI outputs mitigate biases, because AI does have biases. It's basically, it has used all the information from the internet to kind of like form some key judgments based on probabilities. So like in anything, there's going to be some kind of bias. So you want to mitigate that by having human judgment involved and having subject matter experts also involved to review that. Also, you want to train staff on responsible AI use. Now, before you can even train staff, you want to train yourself, and that's the whole purpose of this webinar, to fully understand what AI is all about. But at least you'll have an understanding by the end of this webinar what is AI chatbots or AI is all about. And then you can be part of those conversations of developing policies for your office or your organizations to have at least ways to use AI responsibly. So there's going to be some use cases I'm going to present to you. So I'm going to show you how to use AI at least to perform job analysis, data analysis, assessment design, have a personalized career pathway and training programs, and HR communications. So it's a lot to cover. I'll try my best to cover all this in a given time, but let's get to it. So how to craft the job analysis project plan. So I'm going to fully leverage AI to do this. So I'm going to follow my chat prompt framework. I'm just going to use the bottom layer, the foundational layer. So I want to create a job analysis plan. So what the context is, you want to type in the context. Our organization is not prioritizing the health and well-being of our employees. The CEO has decided to create a new position called Chief Happiness Officer to lead these initiatives. So you want to give them context, give your AI context. How come? The objective of this job analysis is to detail functions and requirements of the CHO role to ensure alignment with our organization's missions and goals. And then you want to assign it a task. Create a job analysis plan, include segments, including elements like project title, objective scopes, key stakeholders, including project sponsor, lead and SMEs, methodologies, interviews, questionnaires, etc., timeline, resources, communication plan, risk mitigation, and acceptance criteria. So that is the assignment. And what is the type of output I want? The expected output is a comprehensive job analysis plan document. All right, so here is the prompt all together. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this prompt. Oops, let me take this. All right, so I'm going to copy and paste it. Now, I'm going to use Claude. I like Claude, but I mean, you can use ChatGPT, either one. So I'm just going to paste it there. So remember, I gave it context, I gave it an assignment, I gave it an output expectation. So it's going to give me a plan. So there you go, job analysis plan for Chief Happiness Officer. It gives me project title, gives me an objective, gives me scope, also identifies key stakeholders, methodologies, interviews. So it gives me all that information. It gives me a timeline, gives me resources, gives me a communication plan. Just for fun, I'm going to do the same thing in ChatGPT. So you get to see what it does as well. So it's basically going to give me something similar. By the way, even if you do the same prompt within the same model like ChatGPT, it's going to give you a slightly different response, which is the interesting thing. It's because it's all based on probability. So there's my plan. Look at that. What I like about this is that it gives me a starting point. It gives me a starting point. It doesn't help, rather than starting over and typing it myself, it gives me a starting point. I could always revise it later on. I could always change the timeline. I could tinker with it a little bit, modify it, revise it. So it gives me something to work with, which saves me a lot of time, and I can really enhance my productivity by just refining rather than creating something new from just a blank page that I have. So the next level, okay, so I got my job analysis plan. I got my job analysis plan. AI totally helped me with it. I appreciate AI. Thank you so much, AI, for doing that. Now, what's next? Okay, so the next thing I want to do is analyze, synthesize collected data and information. So imagine this. I just had a meeting with my subject matter experts. I took some notes from those meetings, and I want to upload and incorporate these notes for my AI to synthesize. So I have my notes. I also I distributed a survey for them to take, and I got their responses. So I want my AI to analyze this information. So let me go back here. Give me one moment. So I'm going to copy this prompt. Give me one moment. And I'm going to put it here. Now, the notes are, okay, so I already have it up. So these are the notes that I took. These are quotes from the subject matter experts. So I want to incorporate this. I want my AI to digest this. So it could be synthesized. So I'm going to paste it in there and see what happens. Okay, understood. I'll wait for you to provide all the parts of the information for the Chief Happiness Officer job analysis. Okay, cool. So it's following my instructions. All right, next, I will give them, okay, all parts of 202 of the documents for the Chief Happiness Officer job analysis have been uploaded. You can now start synthesizing. So basically what I'm giving instructions is to, I'm giving instructions to my AI to synthesize this information for me. And I want to basically have it wait to synthesize until I give it all of the information. Okay, so I just uploaded, I pasted my notes. It's part of the memory banks of my AI. Now this is the result of a survey simulator, by the way, of a survey that I gave to my subject matter experts. So I'm just going to copy and paste all of this information, and I'm going to put it in Claude. You could also do it in ChatGPT, by the way. All right, so it's going to synthesize all of my information for me. Okay, thank you for providing all the necessary information. So it's going to generate the synthesis. So it's going to synthesize my meeting notes with the subject matter experts. It's going to synthesize the results of my survey. It does it in almost like a split second. So it looks at, based on SME feedback, the CEHO should report to one of the following. Look at that. It gives me some insights. It gives me key responsibilities based on the synthesis and the notes. It gives me additional critical duties to include, required competencies. It gives me some information about minimum qualifications, field of study, experience, additional considerations. So, experience leading cross-functional teams, key initiatives and programs, performance metrics, challenges and considerations. So it gives me all of this information. So I let AI to really just do the work for me, but at the same time, I'm the one still reviewing it. So that's kind of like my key message of this webinar is that AI is really there to augment and amplify you. You're the one that is ultimately going to make the final determination if this is a good quality output or not, or you can just plug in the best parts or not. You're the one with the experience. You're the one with the wisdom. You're the one with a lot of experience and background and context to really understand what is this output all about, how relevant it is, and how useful and valuable it is. So you're the one will be evaluating the output, and you can take all of it, some of it, none of it. It's up to you. But ultimately, you're making the final decision as what is good and what is not good. Okay, so it does this work for me. Great, I'm so happy. I don't need to do this much. I mean, I would still suggest it's good to validate or spot check it every now and then to make sure it's consistent. But ultimately, it did synthesize all this information. Sometimes AI may miss certain segments, certain parts. Those is the parts that, like you say, well, you missed this part, AI. Could you please incorporate this part? Or you didn't emphasize this part. You could tweak it a little bit as you go along. Okay, so now the next part is I want my AI to construct a job description for me. Okay, so every agency that I've encountered has a different style of job descriptions. One does it in this format and in this order. Another agency may have it in this format, this order. So you can have AI follow your format, your structure, your style. And to do that is that you want to give an example. So I want to, so this is the prompt I'm going to give it. Based on the provided information and adhering to job description structure and format, synthesize a draft job description for the Chief Happiness Officer role, focusing especially on key responsibilities and required competencies. Okay, so I'm going to paste this in Claude. Give me one moment. And I'm going to give it the example. Let's see. So this is an example of a job description for my agency. This is the format. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this. So as you can see, it's done a certain way, certain fashion, certain order. So I'm gonna paste it here since I referenced it in the prompt. And then what AI is going to do for me, it's going to do exactly what I told it to do. It's going to generate a job description based on the synthesis of all the information that I gave it, a meeting with the subject matter expert, responses from the survey, and the style of my job description format. It's doing it for me. So look, it does it for me. So it has the definition, section 1 definition, section 2 distinguishing characteristics, Section 3, supervision received and exercised, example of duties, job requirements, core competencies, physical demands, work environment, minimum qualifications, equivalency provision if necessary. So again, I keep repeating this, but I think it's worth repeating that it does a lot of work for you. It doesn't, rather than starting from zero, you have something to work with that is so relevant and so sometimes really spot on. But then again, it's up to you to make those adjustments as you go along. And like I said, it's just going to save you time because I'd rather have something than nothing. And this has instead of starting from scratch, I have a lot of content for me to review. I can revise. I can have this reviewed by subject matter experts. At least they have some documents, some content for them to review. And it's just going to speed up the process of me developing a job description for Chief Happiness Officer. Again, this is just an example. It could be applied for anything. It could be an HR professional, HR director, or it could be a technology programmer, it could be an accountant. Basically, these skills, what I'm showing here, can be applied in any type of job classification out there. So what's next? Okay, so I'm done with the job description. Now I'm going to do a, give me a moment here, personnel assessment design. Okay, so my objective is when I want to develop a personnel assessment design, okay, so my objective is to understand the Chief Happiness Officer role and relevant psychometric principles. Okay, so I have the job description. I performed the job analysis. Now I need to develop an exam plan that will assess the skills and competencies of whoever's going to be applying for this job, Chief Happiness Officer. So I'm going to have, here's an example, analyze the provided job description for the Chief Happiness Officer and summarize the key competencies, duties, and responsibilities. So I'm going to do that real quick. Give me one moment. Copy and paste it. I'm going to paste it here. So it's going to analyze the job description. It's going to give me the key competencies, duties, and responsibilities. This is going to help me to develop the personnel assessment exam plan. So it does that for me. It's a lot of content. I'm not going to read everything, but at least as you can see, it gives you a lot of content for you to work with. So the next thing I'm going to do, okay, so I want to train my AI. Maybe my AI is not fully trained on best psychometric principles. So I'm going to train my AI to follow some key principles of psychometrics. So it'll follow them when I give it other instructions as I go along. So I'm going to say I've uploaded a document called psychometric metamorphosis. Okay, so I'm going to train my AI to do that. Give me one moment. Okay, there it is. Okay, so this is the document that I want to train my AI with. So I'm just going to copy and paste this information to Claude. It's in there, and then I'm training. Basically see your AI as a trainable companion that can easily absorb all the information you give it to or you want to give it to, and it's going to analyze it. It's going to absorb it, ingest it, and it's going to be helpful as you give more instructions as you go along. So the next thing I wanted to do is the objective is generate a potential assessment methods, at least exam plan based on the Chief Happiness Officer competency and psychometric principles. So I want to ask my AI to brainstorm with me. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have it act as a psychometrician. And based on the key competency required for the Chief Happiness Officer, summarized and the psychometric principles, brainstorm potential assessment types that could effectively evaluate these competencies, include pros and cons for each suggested assessment type. So I'm going to have that AI perform this. Copy and paste it. And look at the results. So there's a personality, it's asked, okay, so one option, personality assessment, purpose evaluate emotional intelligence, interpersonal skills, leadership style. It gives me the pros and cons of that assessment method. I can perform a situational judgment test to assess problem solving abilities, decision making skills, and approach to workplace scenarios. It gives me pros and cons. Work sample tests, pros and cons, structured interview, pros and cons, assessment center, pros and cons, cognitive ability tests, pros and cons as well. So it gives me options here for me to analyze, for me to take a look and review either with myself or with subject matter experts to ultimately determine what is the best way to assess these competencies for the key competencies for Chief Happiness Officer. So once I got that, I want to, okay, so obtain detailed recommendation for assessment type. So I'm going to ask AI to give me your best recommendation, just to get some insights, just to give me information to help me make a decision. So for each competency to identify for Chief Happiness Officer, recommend the most valid and reliable assessment type based on psychometric principles, explain why each is ideal, and discuss any limitations. So I'm going to have AI to do a lot of thinking for me. Again, it's really to amplify you. It's really to help you. You're the one making the final decisions, but fully leveraging AI to think all of this for you, it's an advancement to help you advance even further. So it gives me all of these information. So leadership and motivation, recommended assessment center. So it identifies a key competency and identifies a key methodology to assess that competency. And then it gives you some rationale as to why it's ideal, and also gives you some limitations. So emotional intelligence is recommending a combination of personal assessment and situation judgment tests. And it gives you some rationale why it's ideal. Communication presentation skills, recommended assessment, structured interview with presentation component. So it gives you a lot of information that is probably highly accurate. I mean, doing this for a living, this is great. This is great because it's really consistent to what I normally do. And it is consistent to, even from my wisdom and expertise in HR, that this is something I would recommend using that type of methodology for that type of competency. So program design and implementation, work sample tests. So it gives you a lot of this type of analysis already for you and helps you at least, come up with all of these ideas and brainstorm with you, which will make you have a much more powerful decision-making experience. So the next thing is like having personalized career pathways and training programs. So let's say you want to use AI to craft personalized career plans and explore the transition from microcomputer support technician, which is our entry-level job here at let's say as a organization, to Chief Technology Officer. So I want my AI to compare the requirements between an entry-level job to the highest level job. So what I'm going to do, since this is a little bit different from all the other types of conversations, I'm going to create a new conversation. So I'm just going to create a new conversation based on this. I'm going to have AI to pretty much create a career plan for this one. So I'm going to first train it by comparing an entry-level job to a highest level job of the career family, which is Chief Technology Officer. I'm going to train my AI to do that right now. I'm going to paste that, and it's going to give me an output. Okay, then I'm going to map out the skills and qualifications I currently possess as a microcomputer support technician, and then required for CTO. So I'm going to have that too. So it's mapping out the experience. The cool thing about this is like it's looking at the experience at the entry-level job, and then it's also looking at experience at the Chief Technology Officer job. It's also performing a gap analysis. So it's saying, okay, what educational qualifications do I need? I need a BA degree, potentially master's degree, certifications in all these other areas, professional experience as well. And then it's giving me some advice, steps for advancement, pursue a bachelor's degree, gain additional certifications in networking, security, and project management, seek promotions to roles like senior support technician, IT support team lead. So it's giving me a customized plan, what it takes for me to equip myself and build the capacity to be qualified for the Chief Technology Officer, which is the highest level job in the career ladder. So the next thing, I want to identify colleges or online programs where I can obtain the necessary bachelor's degree, information technology. So I'm going to ask that AI to do that for me too. So this is great either for yourself if you want to advance, let's say have a career plan for yourself. This is also great, let's say if people are coming to you, or for advice how to advance in their career. It's going to boost retention. It's going to boost morale because people are going to find out, oh, this is what I need to do. Also, this type of technology can be used perhaps even on the website where people can type in, okay, what if I come in a job at this level? How far can I go? How far can I go? Or this is maybe I want to be at this level in this organization. What do I need to have it what it takes to be qualified in that job? So it gives you those answers, which is great. So it gives you, like in this case, it gives me information about key options for university programs. It gives me options for online programs, community colleges as well. It provides all that information. And then I want to, let's say, that's just the educational planning piece. I want to learn more about the experience piece. So I just paste that. It gives me more information about how to obtain the experience level necessary for Chief Technology Officer. Excuse me. So it really is so powerful that it gives you a step-by-step plan. It gives you all the areas that I need to obtain experience to qualify for that experience level piece of the minimal requirements for Chief Technology Officer. Also, for targeted skill development, it'll also give me information on that. And also for networking strategies too. So it's not only giving me information about workshops, certifications, but also for networking, like who are my potential mentors? Let's say if I'm interested in getting some mentors as well. So it gives me information on that too. Now, HR communications. Now, HR communication, that happens a lot. So I'm going to go back to my conversation for Chief Happiness Officer. I'm going to be asking it, okay, let's say I want to advertise this on LinkedIn. I want to advertise this on the web. I'm ready to recruit candidates. I want to have my bulletin very engaging. So I'm going to be asking to AI to identify key role highlights. So I'm going to go back to my conversation I had with, so the cool thing about AI is that it saves your conversation. So I'm just going to paste the top 5 qualities of Chief Happiness Officer role. So it'll do it for me. The top 5 appealing features of Chief Happiness Officer, as you can see, it's generating all of those key aspects for me. Okay, so I wanted to draft the bulletin in less than 300 words for the position of Chief Happiness Officer. So it's going to generate a bulletin for me. Okay, and make sure you put less than 300 words because it could get really elaborative. So look at that. It generates a job bulletin for me. This is something that I post on the website to attract candidates. And I want to enhance the job bulletin using very engaging words. Because sometimes, especially in public agencies, we tend to use very legalistic terms. But in my case, I want to emphasize using engaging words that will attract the audience and candidates that make them more inclined to apply. So look, it says here, become our Chief Happiness Architect or Officer at Happy Organization. Are you ready to revolutionize workplace joy? Happy Organization is on a mission to redefine work-life harmony, and we're seeking a visionary Chief Happiness Officer to lead the change. Look at that, very engaging, very attractive wording that is being used, that it can help you at least at using that could be used on your website or could be as a link to attract more candidates for you, but very engaging, very welcoming verbiage. Okay, now I want to optimize it for web. So I'm going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to optimize it for web usage. So it's probably going to use a lot of keywords. It's probably going to be using hashtags, but ultimately I want to make sure that this is web friendly. So you want to be very to the point, minimum, be at least try not to use too much words or not be wordy, get to the point. So you want to be very web friendly. And so you want to review it. The cool thing about this, you want to review it. You could always tweak it. You could change it. At least you have, like I said, something to work with. So let's say I wanted to post that on social media. Okay, so summarize the key appeal and the middle qualification for Chief Happiness Officer in less than 50 words. So it's going to do it for me. So it's, look, lead organization culture transformation as our Chief Happiness Officer, shape employee well-being strategies, and drive engagement and initiatives. So it gives me the minimal requirements as well. Okay, so I want to put it on Twitter, let's say, or X. I want a 100-character social media post for my Chief Happiness Officer. So it's going to do it for me. Look at that. Look how short it is. Be our joy catalyst. Lead workplace happiness as Chief Happiness Officer. Transform culture. Inspire smiles. Apply now. Look at that. To the point. And then you can even ask it, how can I improve it? You can even ask your AI, how can I improve it? Improve my social. So it'll tell you. You can improve by clarity, appeal, call to action, company name. So this is just ways to improve it. So happy organization seeks happiness officer, lead our culture revolution. So ultimately, you can ask for feedback from your AI, and it'll give you very constructive feedback as well. All right, so key takeaways. AI is very powerful, as you can see. AI is still emerging and advancing. It can be used for practically any work aspect that requires thinking, reasoning, and analyzing. It supplements and amplifies your efforts. It's not going to replace you. It's going to make you a better you. It's going to amplify you. It's going to make you more productive. It's going to save you time. It's really a skill that if you fully leverage and harness, it's just going to make you a better worker. Enhances your productivity. AI makes you better, more efficient, increases the quantity and quality of your work. And use the chat prompt framework that I provided to you. Use the chat prompt framework to harness AI's full potential. Apply structured prompts for optimal AI responses. And also practice, practice, practice. I don't know if you play an instrument like a guitar, saxophone, trumpet, trombone, or even if you play a sport. The only best way to get better at it is by practicing. You want to practice and practice, perhaps on a daily basis, and using AI to really build those skills. And ethical considerations. Make sure you use AI responsibly. Make sure you take into consideration the data privacy. Do not include sensitive or confidential information. You don't know where it's going, so make sure you use anonymous names if you need to, or anonymous information if you need to as well. Okay. I said a mouthful.
Thanks, Dr. Olmos. That was really great. We loved having you on, and having those specific examples is so helpful. So let's take one of the questions that's come in even prior to the webinar, and that is, what is the best way to get good at doing AI prompts?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So you want to follow the framework that I provided to you. So you want to provide context. You want to provide why you're doing it. You want to provide a specific task. Ultimately, you want to treat this AI like a person who is highly intelligent, but is not aware of your circumstances. You want to give that person enough information to help you. So just follow the chat prompt framework that I provided to you, which is mostly context, how, why, and what do you need to do, and you can get a pretty good result. And by practicing that on a daily basis, you could just get better at it.
Thank you. Here's another question related to, what do you do after you get the responses from your AI? Like, what should your mindset be as you review the information that you get back?
Yeah, so it really depends on your goal. If your goal is that, let's say, job analysis plan, if that was your goal, and ultimately, once you see the output, did it meet your expectations? Ultimately, you're the one who are going to decide did it meet your expectations. So you have a certain expectation already in mind. You have an assignment, let's say, that you have to do. Let's say you're like, if it's a report, a job analysis plan, let's say an exam plan, you want to make sure that all of those components are covered. But ultimately, you want to have some kind of criteria in your mind to make sure and to at least to evaluate the output, and you're the one who's going to determine it. Or it could be other people involved. It could be other people like subject matter experts that could be involved, but ultimately you're going to want determining if it's good or not. But the cool thing about that is that as you go along, you can tell AI that, oh no, can you fix that? Can you revise that? Could you enhance that? Could you limit that? Could you elaborate on that? You can have a conversation. See, excuse me, AI as a conversation, and in just continue having that back and forth to the point that it meets your expectations, it meets your goals at the end.
Great. And when you're thinking about working with your teams, maybe people who are early in their career, for example, they don't have a depth of knowledge for those expectations. How would you best roll this out with junior members of your team?
Yeah. So yeah, there's going to be situations where you don't know what it produced is good. And so that's where you have to kind of like do your research. You want to it's good to, okay, once you have produced that, you want to go to another source to validate it. Like maybe it could be a book, or it could be another web page. It could be asking somebody else, like, hey, look, this is what I produced, or this is what AI produced. What do you think about it? And so you want that validation piece. It's very important. So if you're, let's say, if you're a junior staff member in the organization, you may not have the wisdom or develop the wisdom yet to identify what is good or what is great or what is not good. So you want to produce what you want and run it by somebody else or run it by a different source, so you can get that at least some cross-validation and cross-reference, at least multiple angles of information to really make a much more informed judgment of the output.
Great, so helpful. So are there areas in HR that you think AI is just not a good fit for these days?
I wish I can answer that question. Honestly, as long that you don't use it for maluses, but I mean, pretty much AI can be applied in anything. A limitation on AI is really the emotional piece. So HR, I mean, there's so many facets of HR, but also the connection piece. I think that's where the limitation lies. It's not able, it may give you advice, but it doesn't know the full context or the full history of the person. The person may be going through a situation. You're the one who knows, you're the one seeing it in real time. So if you're having, let's say, if you got advice from AI, how to have a tough conversation with somebody, you're the one ultimately have the emotional connection with that person to really gauge and provide a much more suitable response rather than following what AI probably recommended. So the emotional piece is probably a limitation for now. As technology emerges, who knows what's going to happen next, but that's a piece that probably is not the great aspect that AI can provide.
And it really means that AI can be a great partner to HR. There is nothing that replaces the people in HR who do the amazing work that we do in our people departments across companies and agencies and everything. But AI is a great tool to help speed up your work, to give you other perspectives that you might not have, to, the examples that you used with just synthesizing a lot of data is so powerful. It's really just been a pleasure to have you on our webinar today. Thank you, Dr. Olmos. For all of you on the webinar, if you'll change the slide, you can get in touch with Dr. Olmos at DFO Consulting. He's available for additional questions, as are our client success managers here at eSkill. We certainly leverage AI, and it's really been just so helpful in so many of our interactions with our clients, with our content, and with our platform. So thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. It's been great having you. Check back on our webinars page for upcoming webinars, and you can see any of our past webinars on demand under Talent Impact Leaders on eskill.com. Have a wonderful day.